We're live.
Woo!
I think.
Good morning. Good
Slow
afternoon.
down. 1 second. I'm not seeing it on this camera yet. All right. There we go. Now we're live.
Now we're live. Excellent. There's a little bit of a delay sometimes. Anyway, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day to you all.
Hello.
To the Explearning community. Thank you so much for joining us from wherever you're joining us. We're really happy to be doing these lives.
It's a blast. It's like one of these things that I always look forward to during the week.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
It's a fun way to connect with you all and have a conversation with each other as well. So Our topic is pretty fun today, I think.
Yeah, it's a good topic.
It's important too.
It's a very important topic. What's the topic?
How to make friends.
It's hard, right?
It's hard to make friends.
Yeah, you would have thought that's one of those things that you learn in kindergarten and you kind of set for life.
Right,
but,
set for life. That would,
With a lot of things, I feel like it goes the other way sometimes.
What do you mean?
Meaning that some of the things you learn in kindergarten, you actually forget and get worse at.
Right, or you have to relearn.
You have to relearn,
get older. And also things change too, right? We didn't have the tech we had in preschool and in kindergarten.
Yeah, the context, that's true. The environment changes. It was funny though. So I listened to a really good doctor podcast called Peter Attia, The Drive.
Peter Attia.
If you're into medicine or just general health and longevity, it's a phenomenal podcast. In any event, he talked about how you're the best you ever were at squatting, which means, sort of position on the ground. I just mean literally that position. So being able to sit in a squat, right?
Okay.
With your butt to the ground and your feet on the ground. You're the best you ever are at like 6 years old. And then you only get worse at it as you get older.
Great.
Right. Like my point is that there's certain things you learn when you're a kid and then you actually start to unlearn as you get older. And it's important to keep those alive.
Right. And I think friendship and how to make friends, it's a muscle as well in certain aspects that we have to condition and strengthen and use. Otherwise it'll atrophy.
Yeah.
We like making these analogies.
Yeah. Well,
haven't noticed.
You realize a lot of these things are muscles. We always talk about it's like a muscle and it atrophies.
Yeah.
But the truth is with communication, with social interaction,
skills,
it is that way.
It really
right?
is.
It's an exercise. And when you don't do it, your body suffers. Right. And your mind suffers.
And the mind and the connections
that we have. It's true with exercise and it's true with social skills. So I think there is a lot of overlap.
Definitely.
So we're going to keep doing that.
We're going to keep doing it. But I mean, I think one of the reasons we're talking about this topic today specifically is, we talk a lot about on our channel here at Explearning about how social interaction is so important. We talk about the good life, and part of it is having a crew you can count on.
Yes.
Right?
That's part of the tagline.
It's so key though, right?
Yeah,
it's really about fostering relationships. And it's not just about having a set group of friends and then being like, okay, no new admits to this group.
Right. Isn't there like a movement about that?
Yeah. So Drake has this hashtag called No New Friends. And he's a hip hop artist.
Yeah. Drake. I know Drake.
You know Drake.
I know Drake.
You know Drake. Anyway, we have a video coming out about this, about how to maintain friendships. So you can be on the lookout for that. It's coming out next week.
Yeah.
And he has a hashtag about no new friends, but we're going to talk about why that's not the case.
Or why it's not a good idea.
That's why it's not a good idea. So it's okay. But
it looks like so sweet. I'll get the phone later.
Yeah,
I think you guys are more important than the phone.
Yeah. Anyway, but making friends is really important. And it's not just at a certain time in your life where you need to be making friends. It's, I think, a lifelong endeavor. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. It is. And it's one of those things where I think if you keep it up and you sort of continue to do it, you never have really an issue with it.
Yeah.
But for a lot of us, you make a lot of friends early on in school, and those are environments where it's easy to make friends, where you're around a lot lot and you're encouraged to interact with each other.
And just get out there,
get out there
in social situations.
Right. And everyone's like, oh, so who are your friends now? Like, who are you going to have a play date with? Who are you going to have a sleepover with? Right. Who's your crew and all this stuff. But as you sort of get older, that becomes less structured. Yeah, post-college, it becomes less structured. And so while if you don't continue to keep that up, what ends up happening is, your friend pool does start to contract as, people move and, it's harder to keep in touch and interests diverge.
Right. Things happen. Life happens.
Right? And so, eventually what happens is if you don't continue to sort of get out there and make those friends, you start to run a situation where that pool of friends starts to contract.
Right. So I think also we have to differentiate between different types of friends, right? So acquaintances, casual friends, real friends, best friends. What do you make of all that?
Yeah. There's a really good Seneca snippet. So
who's Seneca?
So Seneca is a Stoic philosopher. He's not the first, but he's one of the most well-known. And he was a relatively well-to-do Roman merchant. I think he was a merchant.
I think so.
Yeah. In any event, he was, sort of pseudo aristocracy in Rome way back in the day. We're talking ancient Rome here. But he was, he had the ear of a lot of very important people because despite his wealth,
he espoused these
Stoic beliefs that were very sort of non-materialistic. And there's a really good write-up of his whole diaries, or I'm not sure they're diaries.
Entries.
Letters.
Oh, the letters.
He's always writing letters to people.
To whom?
To a variety of people.
Okay.
People he advises, people that he cares about.
Okay.
And in the letters are just absolute treasures. They truly are treasures of humanity because they're so packed with good information, good advice. And so Tim Ferriss actually does a whole write-up.
I was going to say.
Which is
so if you want
Letters
to
from a
find
Stoic.
Some of that, you can go to Tim Ferriss. I think also Amazon, they sometimes put out these like classics, and you can even get them for free sometimes. I think Letters from a Stoic is on there.
Letters from a Stoic may well be.
Yeah.
His stuff is in the public domain, so it's available
Libraries
anywhere.
Too.
Right. Tim Ferriss, I think. I guess what he did that was special is that he made it audio.
Okay.
I only do audio. I mostly only do audio. So
great way to.
Anyways, let's talk about the specific one. So in one of his letters, he talks about what it means to be a real friend, a true friend.
That's good.
And the term friend gets used so loosely.
It does.
That it starts to lose its meaning. And so when we use it, we might be referring to someone who's very close to us and who means the world to us. We might also just be referring to someone who we've met a couple times.
Maybe had a connection with.
Yeah,
right?
Sort of connected with. Maybe even not. I mean, I've heard people use the term friend or more commonly sometimes buddy, right? And these are people that they've met once or twice and don't really have a meaningful relationship with.
Yeah.
And so I think it's very important to distinguish between those two.
Okay.
Because the type of friend we're talking about is the one that really means something to you. The type that
a close friend.
A close friend.
A real friend, close friend.
Yeah, someone you can confide in.
Yes.
Someone that
cares about
really
you.
Gets you, cares about you. If you're down, they're going to help you get out of it.
Yeah, maybe this person will move mountains for you.
Yeah.
How nice, right?
And that's very different from a friend who, you
hang out with
through other
sometimes.
friends, you hang out with sometimes, but wouldn't necessarily, stand by you when times get tough.
So these are people you can count on.
Yes.
In a nutshell.
Very much so.
A crew you can count on.
That's what I was saying. I was like, sounds like
I had to say
a crew you can count.
It's just so fun.
But that's it, right?
Yeah.
So it's different than obviously friends on Facebook, right? Friends like followers.
Totally.
These are all different sort of concepts of people that are sort of in your circle.
Yes.
But when it comes to a real friend, it's different.
That's right. Do you remember back when Facebook was still new and it was only open to college students? It was only people who had an edu.edu email address?
Yes.
I remember those days.
I remember being so excited to put mine in.
So stoked. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But I remember that way back when, this is only like I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe? Yeah, it's about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, back then, the wall posts were actually numbered. So they would tell you when you visited somebody's page or you saw your own page on Facebook, you could see how many people posted on your wall.
Yeah.
They got rid of that
right.
later because I think it was really affecting people's self-worth, because it's like you see somebody with like maybe 5 posts on their wall.
Yeah.
And this is like from the get-go. This is from the time that you start Facebook, right?
I remember that. And it would be something I was actually, it wasn't even just the wall post. It was also just pictures.
Well, that was later when they added the
Okay.
picture. But I remember with the wall posts, like sometimes people had like 1,500, you know, posts from their friends. And it was like, wow, that person's super popular. It was a vanity metric that was really affecting people's well-being. So they got rid of it.
And yes, so you looked at people like, oh, they're popular.
Yeah.
But then you also look at yourself and you're like, ooh,
oh, wow.
I only have like 5 posts.
5 posts.
You know,
wow.
ooh,
But
you know, you're like, I remember feeling insecure about it.
Definitely, of course, we all did. And then, but then maybe you had 5 wall posts, but you had awesome interactions, like real interactions with people who really care about you.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that disconnect, or there's the distinction between your popularity on this one platform, right?
Yes.
But then in real life, it's like you're crushing it with the friends.
And that's so true. And I think what you're getting at is something that's true across a lot of sort of aspects of life, which is quality versus quantity.
Totally.
Right. And so there are 2 ways to think about your friends. One is, how many do you have?
Yeah.
And that's what Facebook was very much into, is essentially how many friends do you have?
Value.
But what it did a really poor job of assessing was, what quality of friend are they, right? So how many, but like also how meaningful are those relationships?
Exactly.
And that is actually so much more important. And the research bears this out.
Definitely.
It's the quality of your relationships. It's not the number. It's not the quantity that matters. And so you can have, 1,000 friends on Facebook, but if they're not, if none of them are people that you could call and say, hey, I really had a really tough day, can we talk about it?
Or here's some exciting news.
Oh yeah, it's positive, right?
Yeah, both.
I'm so pumped about this. I would love to tell someone about it. But see, the positive stuff is easier to share on social media. That's
because of the highlight reels that everyone
because people want to share that, and so they're proud about it. I think that where it really comes into play is when things aren't as positive, when it's not so shareable.
I think you're right about that.
Right? Yeah. That's when you really need that person to sort of
a shoulder to cry on.
A shoulder to cry on, and also just someone to hang out with, right? And spend some time with and decompress. So anyways,
there's a difference.
There's a big difference. And the point is that the quality of the friendships is by far the most important thing.
Definitely.
You can have 2, 3 friends in your entire life.
Yeah.
That could be, if you had to count on one hand, the total number of friends you had, that's okay.
It's fine.
If those are really good friends, right? And in fact, I would contend that if your number is 5, the quality of your friendship with those friends is much higher than someone who has 100 friends, but in fact doesn't have a meaningful connection with them.
Right, because it comes down to like the time that you're willing to put into not only finding friends, creating friendships, but also maintaining friendships. There's a really interesting statistic I want to share with you. Oh, yeah. So this is from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships. They have a relatively new study, and they showed that on average, it takes about 50 hours to turn an acquaintance, so somebody that you've just met, into a casual friend. It takes about 50 hours.
Fascinating.
Yeah, you have to put in 50 hours. 50 in order to become a casual friend. And then it takes roughly 90 hours to become a real friend. And then guess how many hours it takes to become a close friend. So a best friend, let's say.
So the first was 50.
50 to
the next was 90.
Casual. 90 to become what they're calling real.
Real. And so then a close friend?
Right. So the ultimate.
Wow.
How many hours do you think?
Maybe 200?
Yes.
I don't know.
Wow. You got it.
I was doing the math.
Well done. Spot on.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's a lot.
So it gives you a sort of a sense if you quantify it, right? Yeah. I mean, of course, these are averages. It has nothing to do with well, this is not specifically about your personality. Maybe you're super charismatic and a Boolean and you make friends in like 10 minutes. I don't know. But the point here is that you actually need to invest time into building that connection. And I think it also comes down to realizing that when you meet somebody, even if you have this great connection with them, you don't necessarily reach best friend status in like a week or 2 weeks or even a month, right? It really has to do with
if you look at 200 hours,
spending time. Yeah. Okay. So roughly, what is that?
200 hours. And let's say each instance you're spending time with your friends, this is very generous. Let's say it's 8 hours.
Oh, 8 hours.
I'm just saying if it were 8 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Then you're looking at, and so that's like what, that would be 16 segments.
Yeah.
Between 16 and 24 segments.
Yeah.
Right. So you're basically looking at, a lot of, that's a lot of times to meet up. Right.
Yeah.
And if it's more like 4 hours, then it's even more. You double it. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a high frequency, a high volume. And it just shows you what you really have to invest to have what they call real friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that's something to keep in mind, I think, because again, it takes sort of some of the pressure off of you and also on that other person that you're trying to be friends with, because I think it's just having the foresight that you need to actually like put time in.
Yeah. Well, also think about it this way. When you're a kid, that's easier. Like when you're a kid, particularly on the summer or on weekends, you can easily spend 8 hours with a friend during the day, right? You go hang out. I remember when I was a kid, we would go into the jungle.
Yeah.
So the place we lived in this like compound, and it was right next to the jungle.
Yeah.
And so after school and on the weekends, whenever we had free time, we'd all get together. It'd be like 10 of us in the compound.
That's a crew.
And it was a crew. Yeah. This is like 6th to 8th grade. We'd all get together and go to the jungle, and we'd be there all day, and have just the most fun.
Yeah,
right. Tree houses, whatever.
That's amazing.
And anyways, that's easy.
Yeah.
But think about it now.
Now,
when you have a job, when you have a family,
responsibilities,
it starts to get way harder to spend that kind of time with people.
Right.
Right. I'm trying to think. I guess opportunities would be something like a group vacation, right? We went on a trip recently with some friends, and that was a good way to spend a lot of meaningful time together.
Yeah.
But your typical, let's go get drinks, or let's watch a movie or something. Yeah, you're really only getting
2 hours,
2-3 hours of quality time. So to reach that friend status when you're older takes
the 200 hours we're talking about.
The 200 hours.
It's hard.
Takes a much more
effort,
deliberate investment.
Yeah. So I think, in college, it's a lot easier to
university and other places. Call it college in the U.S. Yeah.
I think it's easier there to make friends, right? To make friends in college because you're spending a lot of time and you run into people, right? You run into them in the cafeteria, at the gym, at social events, maybe in the library.
Yeah. And you're in that community
together.
Right? It's not like once you leave sort of a community like that, a structured community like that, you're not in the same proximity.
Right.
And your schedules start to really diverge. So in college and in school in general, you have two things going for you. One, you're sort of in that same proximal area.
Yeah.
And two, your schedules are relatively aligned.
That's true.
You might be sharing classes, but either way, classes from here to here, and then hanging out time is from here to here. I mean, it's more structured.
Exactly.
But yeah, once you sort of depart from that context, it becomes much less structured.
Yeah. So I think if anyone out there, if you're watching this and you happen to be in college or university, that's great. Like definitely take advantage of the people that you meet there and try to get to know as many people as you can. Try to
in a meaningful way.
In a meaningful way. It's not just like, hey, how are you? What's up? I mean, if you're going to do that, then it's kind of pointless. I mean, no, it would be.
It's not pointless.
It's not
but
pointless.
I get what you're saying.
But if your goal is to try to foster real relationships, then sit down with people, talk to them, and this could be even in a group setting.
Clubs. There's a lot of clubs.
Yeah, join clubs.
Right.
Be active. Be social.
Yeah.
definitely study too. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of studying.
You did an amazing job. So Mary Daphne was a phenomenal student in college. I can't claim the same. She was a phenomenal student, but what was amazing about Mary Daphne was she also knew everyone. So she did this amazing job of working really hard and developing, your academics. But at the same time, when you hung out, you really hung out. I just remember, spending time with you. You're always very present and very open. I think your openness was a big part of what made that so successful.
I think part of it too is that just like I loved where we went to college. Greg and I went to college together, and I just loved it. It was such a wonderful place. And I just really genuinely found the people so awesome. And particularly our friend group too, like just so many authentic individuals was awesome. But I tried to be mindful that I needed to meet people from different groups, like international students.
Yeah, you did a great job.
People from, just everywhere, all sorts of people, because I don't know. I felt like it was worth investing in getting to know people and just trying to like learn from them and share experiences. And hang out. And I think
you were fearless in that regard.
It was good. Yeah. If I wasn't in the library, I was just like making friends everywhere. But you were also really good about that, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think what helped us and people like us was that we were open, right? I think
and authentic.
And authentic. Both of those things make a big difference. And I was friends with some people who weren't as open. And what I mean by open is they sort of had a small group of people that they hung out with, and that was the only group that they wanted to hang out with.
That's like the no new friends hashtag that we're trying to like delete.
Extinguish.
Yeah.
And look, the friends that they had were great, and that matters.
It's okay.
But the problem is when you exclude other people from sort of joining those groups, it can get stale. It can become an echo chamber, and you also you limit your future options. I think one of the insights
and worldviews,
certainly worldviews,
right?
Which then actually has an impact down the road, right?
Definitely.
If you can develop a broader worldview earlier on, that's going to expand and I would say enhance your ability to make friends as you get older.
Yeah.
But the insight I was thinking was if the college and high school, if those and even earlier are such good times to make friends, and it gets harder as you get older, then you really want to treasure those friendships.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
The
ones that you made, and keep those friendships,
maintain those friendships,
because you had such an advantage and head start making friends during that time.
Yeah.
That those are the ones that you've already have.
Yes.
So keep them alive to the extent that you can.
Nurture those.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think we have some action over there.
Yeah. Oh, good evening, Ved. Great to have you back.
Hello.
Yeah. If you just joined us, we're talking about sort of the importance of good quality friends, and the importance of sort of developing those and maintaining them for as long as you can, and really treasuring them.
Definitely. And it comes sort of it's kind of a twofold thing. So it's not just about making friends, but it's about keeping your friends when you have them. And as you get older too, I think life gets in the way. And so you have to be extra proactive and deliberate and thoughtful about putting yourself into situations where you're going to make friends. So let's talk about those now.
Yeah.
Maybe joining, meetups, or maybe joining a course or a class or a club.
Yeah. Or a gym.
Yeah. And try to talk to people. Don't just go in and, do your routine.
Yeah. Which I'm totally guilty of. I mean, sometimes when I go to these things, I'm like, all right, I'm coming here for one purpose. For example, let's say a gym class. It's like, I go to the gym class, I'm here for one purpose, and that's to kick butt at this class.
Right.
And then I'm going to get out of there. But that's unfortunately not a good way to take advantage of what's this opportunity is, which is not only is it an opportunity to get fitter, it's also an opportunity to meet other people who apparently share similar objectives, right? You're all there to get fit. So I like this idea of you go to these sort of structured events or spaces because they immediately, similar to college and school, they immediately pre-establish some alignment that you have with each other.
Yes.
So by definition, right,
there's a common common
you have
ground.
already some common ground to start with.
Right. And so you can use that to ask questions like, oh, are you using that dumbbell over there? Even something like that.
Totally. Yeah.
So Thomas Frank, he's a YouTuber, and he has what he calls the 3-second rule in terms of like approaching people. So his rule is, okay, so it's 3 seconds. So let's say I see Greg lifting some weights, and I don't know Greg, let's say.
Just getting ripped.
Getting ripped. If I see him, within 3 seconds, I have to decide if I'm going to go up and talk to him. And once the 3 seconds have passed, then, okay, I've lost my chance.
That's
so
really
within 3
interesting.
seconds, and I think it's really good because that way you're not like ruminating over, and then you're not like staring at the person like that, like super awkward. Right?
Yeah, I start to like
what's going on?
Did I do something wrong?
But like, let's say, so I see you and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to talk to him. He has a dumbbell. I need that dumbbell actually.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So like, hey, what's up? How are you doing? Can I have that dumbbell? Maybe you'd say, or I don't know, however you want to say.
Yeah. And look, I could respond by saying, yeah, sure. And in fact, I found a really cool way to use it.
Yeah.
do you want to like, I can show you how I just like this cool new exercise.
Yeah. Like, how's your form?
Right?
I think also help asking people for help. So let's say you're at the gym and you like your form is not, I always ask Greg if my form is okay. Cause you have way more experience.
Well, anyone looking at someone else is going to have a better view. Right.
Yeah.
It's very hard to judge your own form.
But like, let's say, so at a gym, what are some icebreakers you can use? You could say, could you, spot me if you're at the, what's it called? What is it?
Bench press?
Yeah, bench press.
Yeah.
See, case in point. The bench press, you do want somebody to spot you there.
Yeah, totally.
Fall on you.
I've many times actually asked strangers to spot me.
Yeah, exactly.
And you immediately, it's so funny, just this tiny little ask like that, you immediately develop this kinship.
Yeah.
And I really like the idea of asking for help as a strategy too. And obviously we talk a lot about gyms too, but it doesn't have to be a gym. It could be anywhere.
A dance class.
A dance class.
A cooking class.
Yeah.
Maybe, right?
But it could even be something on a subway, right? Where
you're on a subway train.
Yeah, you're on a subway train and, you're asking for directions somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. But asking for help is great for starting a conversation. As
an
icebreaker, because what it does is it immediately shows some sort of a level of vulnerability and humbleness on your part, right?
So.
You're saying, I'm brave enough to ask you for help. Yeah. I'm admitting that I don't know how to do this or could use further advice. And it also says, you appear to be someone qualified.
Right.
So in one go, you're sort of demonstrating humility for yourself.
And openness. Right?
And then also demonstrating to that person that they appear to be credible. So you're kind of almost complimenting them.
Yeah.
So it's a sort of a 2-punch method that can be very effective for starting that conversation.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think, I think of like social awkwardness as really just what you make it. So if you go in there and think like, oh, I'm just like super awkward right now. Like no one's going to like show me how to lift this weight properly. If you go in there with that kind of mindset, then you're going to be socially awkward because it's going to tell your brain and then your body language is going to show that and people will pick up on that.
Right.
But instead, if you go in there thinking, I got this under control. This situation is only as awkward as I'm going to make it. So if you go in there with that mindset and that control, then you realize that it's actually not awkward. It's all up here. And once you shut it down up here, you're, relax. And so what if you flub? So what if you, slip? So what if you, say the wrong thing by mistake or, I don't know, laugh like a hyena or something, sometimes like when people laugh, they snort.
Yeah.
That happens to me sometimes,
totally.
Right? And it's totally fine. Whatever. So I think a situation is only as awkward as you make it.
But what you're getting at too, that I think is spot on.
Yeah.
Is it's because you're being authentic. So so what if you laugh funny? So what if you're stuttering or you are awkward?
Yeah.
Well, that's you. You know, that's you in that moment at least. And a friend, if they're going to become a friend, is going to appreciate
and
that.
they'll look past that too.
They'll totally look past it, and that is part of you. So if anything, if you tend to be an awkward person,
embrace it.
Embrace it. So what? And be that person, and that will show them who you are. And if they're interested in that type of person, then they're going to reciprocate, right?
And maybe they'll also let their awkwardness.
It turns out they're awkward too. Exactly. And so I love that sort of removing the sense of hesitation on the basis of how you might present yourself, because in reality, your authenticity is the most important thing to present.
Right.
Yeah. So don't worry too much about it. Just kind of go for it.
Just go with it.
And by definition, by just going for it, you will project that authenticity. And
then I think it'll turn into confidence as well.
And yeah, I think once you don't worry about it, you automatically are confident. Yeah.
So Thomas Frank also talks about proximity friends. And
proximity friends.
Yeah. So proximity friends are the people. So think of a neighbor as a proximity friend, people that you sort of run into just because they're within close proximity of your home, your apartment, your workplace, a gym, any place that you frequent often. And so he's saying, don't, rule out proximity friends as an option for a real friend down the line. And his point is that with proximity friends, they might take you out of your comfort zone in that they'll probably have different interests from you, right? So if you start sort of hanging out with these proximity friends, they might take you down, an awesome, bike trail that you didn't know about, even though it was like 5 miles from where you live. Or they might, be in a chess club that they want you to join, and you don't know anything about chess, but you want to learn and become a better chess player or something. So proximity friends are also a great way of sort of, because you run into these people, right?
Yeah, so they're close to you, so, meaning proximally close, right? Physically in close distance. Proximity to you.
Small.
And to your point, that's really the only thing that you have in common at the outset.
Yeah.
Right.
Being close to this
by definition,
like,
it's almost
distance-wise.
You introduce a level of stochasticity, right? The randomness.
Oh yeah.
That enables these sort of discoveries.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's not a home run, right? You may well not connect with them, and that's okay. But the point is, if you do connect, well, what a cool opportunity to sort of plug into something that's, otherwise totally outside your echo chamber, totally outside your comfort zone.
Yeah. It's like running into somebody over and over again at a cafe.
Yeah.
And it's like, is the universe trying to tell me to like be friends with this person or like, hang out? Or so that's kind of what we mean by this is Thomas Frank's term, proximity friends, but I thought that was kind of cool.
I have one more thing to add to it, which is if you're talking practically.
Yes.
Practically speaking. Which I love to talk practical. Totally. If you need help with something, the people that are in the best position to help you, right? I'm talking about something immediate.
Yeah.
You need to move something heavy, right?
Or maybe you need an egg.
Fix a pipe, or you need an egg. Yeah, you ran out of eggs or something.
Recipe or something.
Guess who can help you the fastest? The person next to you. Yeah. So it behooves you to actually make an effort, and it might take more effort than normal, right?
Yeah.
You might not have that immediate connection, but it's still worth working to foster that friendship, if only because there are a lot of practical benefits to it beyond just the friendship itself.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's okay, right? It's okay to treat friendships both as important sort of psychological buttresses, right, as things that support you, but also as sort of day-to-day life support, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is friendship in communities and villages, they exist, and tribes exist because it's more than just that psychological support. They're there for you in a variety of different ways.
In a pinch, yeah.
In a pinch. Mm-hmm. And so the practical aspects of friendship are very real and something to also treat with respect.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So important. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How do you decide when to get to the next level in terms of friends? So for example, let's say you want to invest 200 hours.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like now obsessed
You have
with
like a
that 200
spreadsheet.
hours. And you can you imagine you're hanging out with people and then
Yeah.
you clock, like you a timestamp, you
Right,
log,
exactly.
yeah,
Okay,
like
well,
for work.
we just got in 5 hours today. Well done. We're actually closing in on the 90-hour real friend mark.
That means that we get the certificate of
Yeah.
the next level friendship. No, but seriously, like how do you, I'm just thinking
Yeah.
of it out loud here.
Totally.
Like what are the criteria that you base it on, whether to keep hanging out with this person or stop hanging out or just let the universe do its thing? What do you
Yeah, and I think
about that?
related to that is also sort of how do you assess where you are in the friendship, right?
Yeah, sure. And how maybe it's not like equal in terms of how the person views the
okay,
closeness.
this is now a 3-parter.
Wow.
All right.
Lots
so
of stuff
let me
to
let me
unpack.
start out by saying I don't recommend keeping a spreadsheet
No, of course
of
not.
how many hours you're spending with
No,
people.
we're
I don't
just-
think that's a good
we're
idea.
just joking about that.
I think it's really more so that's a heuristic, right? It's something that's
Yeah.
sort of used as a basis for understanding roughly
Yeah.
how long it would take.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to whether this is someone that you want to continue to hang out with more or not, I think actually, in my experience, it's a pretty easy decision.
I think it happens naturally.
Yeah, it happens naturally, but you also notice it. I mean, I will actively make decisions to not hang out with people.
Yeah.
If I have certain reasons. And typically those reasons will be something like they do something that isn't really in line with my lifestyle, maybe.
Or your values.
Right, my values. Maybe it's because they're involved in behavior that isn't healthy and I'm really big into health, or it's counterproductive to my professional ambitions, right? If there's things that these people that you've met are doing that are counterproductive to your goals, or to in some way aren't making you feel comfortable,
Yeah.
or preventing you from being authentic,
Mm.
I think those are all good sort of indicators that you might want to shut it down. And it's okay to shut that down, right?
Absolutely.
You shouldn't be afraid to do that. And you don't have to do it in an aggressive or combative way. It's just, it happens very naturally. They invite you to things, you say, sorry, I'm busy. And eventually, you guys sort of get it and you go certain ways. You don't have to get all official with them. But I think being on the lookout for that type of thing, when you hang out with them, when you sort of finish hanging out with them, do you remember it as that was an awesome, fun time that feels good? Or was there aspects of that I didn't feel so good about?
Right.
And also when you get invited to things with them, do you sort of
jump at
it and you're like, yes, this is awesome, I can't wait to hang out? Or is it like, oof, what excuse can I come up with?
Right.
So listening for those kind of cues, I think, are good.
And that's all intrapersonal communication.
Very much so.
Yeah. There's we have a video about how to know when to let go of friendships, of relationships, of just, social settings that with people that you just don't know whether you want to maintain them as keep them as a friend or not.
Yeah, I remember you put together like a nice sort of checklist.
It's all these questions that you should ask yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is about tapping into how you feel after interacting with them. Do you feel good about yourself? Do you feel good about the world? Do you feel good about your day? Is it brighter outside, even if it's a cloudy day? Or is it, right, we're talking about figuratively here.
Yeah.
So definitely check that. I'll link it below. How to know when to let go. And this is true for even people that, an acquaintance. It's really just for anybody that you are friends with. This is not, we're not even talking about, romantic relationships here. We're talking about just people that you are friends with. So it's important so that you can take the time and energy to put into people who you actually do want to spend time with. Because we only have so many hours in a day, right? Especially if we're doing other things. And it comes down to really prioritizing and knowing sort of what makes you happy. Yeah,
there's also another dimension that, gosh, this topic's so big. We're actually hitting on our. we should probably wrap up soon. Okay. But I just want to say this is such a big topic. We're definitely have to revisit it.
We should talk about it
in more ways. Because another thing that I was thinking about is going back to sort of the practical nature of friendships. They're friends for different occasions, right? So there's friends who are really good at helping you through tough times. There's friends that are really good at helping you decompress and going out and having fun. The friends that are really good for getting you brainstorming, being
like
creative, ones for challenging yourself, and there can be overlap between them, but different friends can serve sort of different roles in your life that are very important.
I love that point. Yeah, there's no like one size fits all for just like a fixer-upper friend for everything.
Exactly. So that's definitely something to explore too.
Yeah.
But just to wrap up, because the other question you were asking, I think, right. So knowing there are things you can look at to sort of determine whether to continue the friendship or not. And then in terms of sort of assessing where you are in that friendship, that I think is not something you really need to do actively. Yeah. I think the point simply there is getting to the point where you're real authentic friends takes time and takes investment. And so the more time you can give it, the better off you are. And to the extent that it's worth it to you to do it, you'll do it. Yeah. And so I don't think you have to track where you are on that sort of progression.
Right.
I just think that if you're enjoying spending time with them, spend more time, because you can always spend more time, and chances are you still, will benefit. Chances are there's room to get an even better friendship from it.
But be sure to listen to that voice inside your head saying, pointing you in one direction or the other in terms of
well, definitely.
Keeping up with the person,
if you feel like you're having to work to sort of keep that friendship up, that's probably another flag that, it might not be one that's worth keeping up.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we'll definitely talk more about this topic. It's just so important. Social interaction is the key to life. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a very important part of your health and well-being and
happiness.
And so, and friendships make up a big portion of your social interaction. And so, it's absolutely something we'll continue to talk about it. If you guys have any questions about it, if there are specific topics you'd like us to do a deep dive into, please let us know.
That. Yes, let us know in the comments.
It's just a really important one, and we enjoy talking about it. And we love our friends. And
shout out to all our friends if they're watching.
If you're a real friend, you're watching.
You're just kidding.
Yeah.
No, but, the other thing I will say, just as a reminder, we have a new lesson coming out on, let me see, I have the time here. Yes, Thursday at 12 noon. That's 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's on What's Your Story? So when you meet somebody, you might ask them, so what's your story? Or they might ask you, what's your story? And this could be in any social setting, also professional, personal. So how do you answer that question? So that's coming out on this Thursday, 12 p.m.
Awesome.
Eastern Standard Time. And then next week we have a lesson about how to maintain friendships. So it's sort of in follow-up to
cool.
This
That's
topic.
Perfect. Yeah.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Hope you found this helpful. And like I said, definitely let us know if you have any questions about this topic or anything you want us to sort of go into further detail on.
Yeah. And don't forget to check out our blog and our website.
Yes.
myexplearning.com.
Yeah.
We have a lot of resources.
And he puts up some great show notes after we do these lives, so that sort of summarize what we talked through, and all the other videos and transcripts are up there too.
And if you'd like to receive an email from us just once a week with the recap of the live and the lesson that's out for that week, then you can sign up for our newsletter, which is on myexplearning.com.
All right.
Have
thanks,
a wonderful
everyone.
day and week and life, and happy explearning.
Happy explearning. Go make some friends.